sketching quadratic equations. You need to be able to sketch a quadratic by working out the key coordinates and knowing what the shape will be. This is different to plotting it. When you plot it, you work out all the points and plot them accurately. When you're sketching it, we're showing the key features and the most important parts of it and making sure we have the right shape. So ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. That's the common formula for solving a quadratic, and that part there, b squared minus 4ac, the part inside the square root sign, that's known as the discriminant. And b squared minus 4ac, or the discriminant, tells us an awful lot about what the quadratic is going to look like, so we can sketch it easily. Its value determines how many solutions the equation has. If b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0 and a is bigger than 0, then we have a U-shaped quadratic that crosses the x-axis twice, so there's a bit above and a bit below the x-axis. If b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0 and a is bigger than 0, then we have a U-shaped quadratic that touches the x-axis just once. And if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0 and a is bigger than 0, then we have a U-shaped quadratic that does not cross nor touch the x-axis at all. If b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0 and a is less than 0, then we have an N-shaped quadratic that crosses the x-axis, so there are two roots. There's a bit above and a bit below the x-axis. If b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0 and a is less than 0, then it's an N-shaped quadratic that touches the x-axis once and once only. And if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0 and a is less than 0, it's an N-shaped quadratic that does not cross the x-axis at all, nor touch it. There are no roots to that equation. So you can see, if a is bigger than 0, it's U-shaped. If a is less than 0, it's N-shaped. If b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0, there are two solutions. If it's equal to 0, there's one repeated root, and if it's less than 0, there are no solutions at all. So to sketch a graph, we need to work out where does it cross the y-axis, where, if anywhere, it crosses the x-axis, and we have to confirm the shape by looking at the value of a. So if you want to sketch y equals x squared minus 5x plus 4, firstly, where does it cross the y-axis? Well, it crosses the y-axis where x is equal to 0. So if we set x is equal to 0 in that equation, we get that y is equal to 4. So that's the point 0, 4. Where does it cross the x-axis? Well, firstly, we should really check to see what the discriminant is. If we work out b squared minus 4ac, that's minus 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4, 25 minus 16, 9. That tells us there are going to be two real roots because b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0. So it's going to cut the x-axis when y is equal to 0. We know there are two real roots, so we know we can solve it somehow. So if x squared minus 5x plus 4, if we factorise that, that's x minus 4, x minus 1. So that therefore means that the solutions are 1 and 4, so the coordinates are at 1, 0 and 4, 0. Our final thought is to what is the shape? Well, it's x squared, so a is bigger than 0, a is 1. So that means it's going to be a U-shaped graph. It's going to be a U-shaped graph that cuts the y-axis at 4, cuts the x-axis at 1 and 4. We know the discriminant is positive, so we know there are two solutions, so the graph will look like that. And in an exam, make sure that you label all the values on the graph, 0, 4, 1, 0, 4, 0. And sometimes it will also ask you to find a minimum as well, and remember that the minimum occurs halfway between the two roots. So halfway between the two roots for the x value, and then you can substitute that in to find the corresponding y value. We can also use information on the discriminant to calculate unknown values. You need to remember that real roots, two real roots, b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0. Repeated root, b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0. And if there are no roots at all, b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. So find the value of k for which x squared plus kx plus 9 is equal to 0 has equal roots. If there are equal roots, that means that b squared minus 4ac must be equal to 0. So that means that if we substitute in k squared minus 4 times 1 times 9 must be equal to 0. So k squared minus 36 is equal to 0, k squared is equal to 36, so k is equal to plus or minus 6.